walk into this room at your own risk, because it leads to the future.
Forget it, Arnie. This baby's got 93,000 miles on it. Probably 193. I don't care.
Why don't you get out of your big ugly car, huh? We'd like to see what you look like.
What's that? There's a jet of flame springing from the mirror and it leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on.
All right, welcome back to the Unnamed Movie Car Podcast, our first spooky episode. Hope you enjoyed that extra spooky intro song.
Yeah, I love that, by the way. I think it's so cool, so awesome.
Yeah, we're doing intro songs
Yeah.
now, so you guys know when it's time to party.
Yeah.
But we are recording at you live from New York City.
Yep.
Because
the Big
today,
Apple.
The Big Apple.
The big scary apple in this case.
Yeah, well, we are talking about Ghostbusters, the 1984 film.
Who are you going to call?
Who are you going to call? This is one of our all-time favorites.
Yeah.
Directed by Ivan Reitman, starring Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Rick Moranis, Bill Murray. I seem to have lost the Sigourney Weaver. A whole star-studded cast. Also, Stephen Tash, who is the college student that is getting tested in the beginning.
Really?
Remember with the cards?
Yes.
The only reason I bring him up is because he's also in Christine.
No.
Which will be another film featured in our Halloween spooky.
Let's just begin with spoiler alerts in the
film. We have 10 minutes before we can spoil it. So if you're unaware, here at the Unnamed Movie Car Podcast for the whole month of October, we are doing spooky movies, starting off with the family favorite of Ghostbusters, which is one of our favorite movies, I think, of all time.
Absolutely.
I remember, I don't know what year it is. It might have been multiple years. You, on the front of our house, projected Ghostbusters.
I did
Halloween
actually,
night.
and I got the full license and rights to project.
Oh yeah. Okay,
no, I
so
didn't.
for the story, you didn't project it.
No, I did.
But we had the very nice drunk neighbors stop by, and there's a couple of our neighbors walk around with it's a wagon.
Oh,
and their kids
they
go
used to
trick or
do that.
treating.
They used to do
and
that,
the wagon is full of alcohol. So real good neighborhood we're in.
Hence where the term comes from, falling off the wagon.
Yeah.
Just kidding. No. So no, they would do that, and actually for a couple of years that was like a really fun thing. But then,
well, everyone grew up.
Yeah. Right. And
but I feel like my childhood is definitely hardcore intertwined with Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah,
as a
no
film.
kidding. Yeah,
up until probably a couple years ago, I would whenever someone's like, "What's your favorite movie?" It was always Ghostbusters.
Really?
Oh yeah.
As like the all-time favorite of all.
Yeah, I think now.
Yeah.
I think now I would probably say Wolf of Wall Street is pretty high up there.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a whole bunch now that I've just seen more movies.
I would say for me, Ford versus Ferrari, one of the top.
Really?
Really? One of the top.
Oh yeah, that's definitely up
really
there
was
for
cool.
sure.
It was very cool. And if you haven't heard that podcast, go back and listen.
Yeah, go
to
back and check it out. We are also on Spotify.
Yeah.
If you're listening on YouTube.
I'm so excited about that.
If you're listening on Spotify, go check us out on YouTube. You can see the sweet cover art that I draw by hand.
And it is very cool, and still to this day, I'm excited about being on Spotify. I think that's really fun.
It's awesome
really cool.
to be on such a large platform.
Yep. Yeah.
But also, just going off of my childhood, I posted YouTube videos.
Oh yeah.
Way back in the day. So there's this thing called Mini-Mates. You remember the Mini-Mates?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And they were basically, they were larger than Lego minifigures, but they weren't like full, giant action figures.
No, they.
And so I did reviews of them. Do you remember this?
Yes, you did.
I did reviews of the Ghostbusters Mini-Mates, and I did a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man Mini-Mate review that grossed over 40,000 views on YouTube.
Did it really?
Yeah, this was. I mean, I never made a dime off of it. This is before.
You were an influencer back
God,
then.
I hate that term.
Do you really?
I hate it.
Term? Oh, okay.
Well, because technically with my subscriber account,
yeah.
I'm technically categorized as a micro-influencer because I have under 100,000 subscribers, but I have over 30,000. So it's like I'm considered a micro-influencer, and it makes me want to commit scooter ankle. I mean, it's just terrible. So, but back in the day, this must have been 2009, 2008.
Yep.
I posted these Mini-Mate reviews, and they got a couple thousand views. I think they're still up on YouTube.
Are they?
If you Google them, if you search them, you might be able to find them.
Of YouTube, yeah.
So yeah, and I remember I had the Mini-Mates, and I had everyone in the movie. I had Slimer, I had the librarian, I had the 4 Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
I had a couple different Stay Puft Marshmallow Men. I had the brothers from the second movie, the Electric Brothers, who got the electric chair. I had those.
Gosh, I forgot the name of the brothers.
I have the Titanic captain
Dude.
from the second movie.
Oh, that's right,
because
he is in the second movie.
Joke.
Yeah, that's pretty hilarious. Yeah. Yep.
But I always wanted to make I wanted to do a shot-for-shot remake of Ghostbusters with the Mini-Mates. And I remember I drew, there's a scene where they're in the elevator where they're about to catch Slimer, and it has the no smoking sign behind them.
Yeah.
And I drew that no smoking sign, and I took a picture of the Mini-Mates, the mini action figures, in front of the no smoking sign.
Gosh.
Like they were going up the elevator. And I was like, this is the start to my film.
Yeah. Wow.
This is the start. And then, of course, I never ended up doing anything. But
yeah.
I was a Ghostbuster for a couple of Halloweens, I think.
Yes, you were. And so was I.
Well, you made a proton pack.
I did.
Out of styrofoam and cups. And
well, for you guys, yeah, definitely. I made just this lightweight little miniature version of the proton packs, and then you had jumpsuits and stuff and all that. It was fun. I myself had made for a couple Halloweens. That was one of the first really cool Halloween costumes I made back in '85.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, because it was Ghostbusters. It was just so cool, and so much about this movie is so iconic. And to this day, it still holds up. It still holds up with the proton packs and everybody.
The special effects you can kind of tell are 80s.
Yeah.
But they hold up better than you would think.
Yes.
Especially considering a lot of the stuff is the older style of the top of the building isn't real.
Right.
So they basically painted the top of the building on a piece of glass.
Yes.
Which, you think they just painted on the glass and meshed it in, but you have to get the perspective right.
Absolutely.
So you have to know exactly where the camera's going to be, and you have to know lighting. You have to know where to blend it. You have to use the exact right colors.
Yes.
There wasn't really. It's not like digital color grading now, where you could just pull levers and stuff and get stuff to match up.
No, it wasn't. Definitely not. And it was, we'll talk about this, but it was also amazing just in the fact of how short of a runway they had to make this movie.
Yeah.
And also what they had to do to pull it together, and we'll talk about that more after our 10-minute spoiler
I know.
thing.
We're eyeballing this, this timer. So if you're unfamiliar with the show, we wait 10 minutes to get any spoilers out of the way. Yeah, tick. But going back to, just to avoid spoilers, this is totally off topic. I remember, which we never do.
What a surprise. We never do that. We never
One
go
of
off
the
topic.
most impressive Halloween costumes as a kid was you made me and my friend Logan Bionicle masks. Do you remember this?
No, I don't remember.
You don't remember this?
I made Bionicle masks.
So Lego Bionicles.
Yeah,
if you're unfamiliar, they were
that was a big deal.
Such 2000s era. They're very short-lived Lego series of Bionicles. They were these mech almost things.
Yes.
I'm sure if you're my age, you know what Bionicles are.
Kind of not very, but kind of along the lines of Transformers, kind of.
Kind of. They didn't change into things, but it was these metal.
It was a different
beings.
world thing.
Yeah, it was a
there
whole.
Were some other beings.
And you out of paper mache and clay made these Bionicle masks.
Okay,
you made Logan the golden mask.
Yeah.
It was the golden man or whatever.
And
mine was red.
Barely remember that,
but
I do remember it a little bit.
You
but
used this hard clay, and it stuck to our garage floor, probably still to this day. There's this hard clay because our garage floor is terrible.
Yeah, it is.
It's
awful.
pitted.
It's so pitted.
It's like the surface of the moon.
It is.
And so, probably up until recently, probably honestly, disassembling the Red RX-7 probably washed away all the clay with all the trans
with all
fluid
the
that
acid and everything.
exploded
Exactly. Yep.
But yeah, I remember that was one of the cool, probably the second coolest besides being a Ghostbuster. I mean, suiting up in the tan jumpsuit is always a good time.
Yeah,
but
it really, those were a lot of fun. Halloween is one of my very favorite times of the year. We talked about it last time, but
yeah, this
Halloween
is your season.
Like
Welcome to
totally,
your season.
Yeah, thank you. Love this season. And I think
they turn into a dog at the end of the movie. They turn into a dog.
Okay, for
so
you
we crossed 10 minutes. Sorry to freak you out in your Kia Sorrento on your way to work.
Oh my gosh, you had to get that out. So 10 minutes. So what we've done is, like you said, we wait 10 minutes before any spoiler alerts. But we're watching the clock, and literally it just passed 10 minutes.
This is just such a fun movie to talk about.
It is. There's so many things in it. If you haven't seen it since 1984... or 85 was it?
84. It was an 84 release. Came out the exact same day as the movie Gremlins.
Did it really?
Which ended up being, of course, another very famous. That's the thing is the 80s movies were so iconic.
Yes.
And interestingly enough, I was listening to a Tarantino podcast.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino says that the 80s was a terrible decade of movies, and I'm like, you are out of your head.
What? How?
Yeah, he said that for movie characters, they were all so soft and goofy, and I'm like, that's the whole point of it. Freaking idiot.
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah. So
Tarantino, we're coming for one of your films soon.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
We're coming. We're coming. So you better watch out.
Yeah, that's I know Tarantino listens to every pod, so.
Oh yeah. So does Spielberg. Yeah.
Oh yeah, big fans of the show. The reason we picked this is obviously we're doing scary Halloween movies. I'll say.
Yeah.
But also because of the Ecto One.
Oh, absolutely,
because
definitely
that
Ecto One. Yep.
By far and away a character. This isn't a car movie.
No.
But I think the car is one of the most iconic cars in any movie ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is the Ecto One. So the Ecto One is a 1959 Cadillac ambulance. It has a 6.3 liter V8, making 320 horsepower, which is not bad for
it's not bad. It's not bad.
pre-1960 car.
It's a 59 Cadillac?
It's a 59 Cadillac ambulance built by the Miller Meteor Company.
Yeah.
So Miller Meteor was actually a coach builder so you couldn't just order this car from Cadillac. It was actually built by a coach builder. So I did some research on the coach builder, if we really want to get into it.
Great. Okay, good.
So
very good.
According
Excellent.
to the Volo Auto Museum,
Yes.
only 25 of these ambulances were ever produced.
Okay.
According to thedrive.com, which recently featured a shooting cars article,
Nice.
They said that there was 400 made of the Miller Meteor ambulances. Now, they could have been only 25 were ambulances, and maybe the others were hearses, because it's a very similar chassis platform.
Really? So only 25? Wow.
That's what the Volo Auto Museum said.
All right.
However, there also was some spelling typos in their description of the Ecto One. They said this is a very car.
This is a very
I don't know what that means.
When you're talking to me, you're talking grammar. I'm pretty pedantic about that stuff. So yeah.
So let's just say, let's give benefit of the doubt. Let's just say the 400. Let's go with the larger number.
Okay.
And only 2 were converted for screen use. So they only ever had 2 Ecto Ones.
Really?
The black one that they pull up in.
Yes.
And then the white one.
That's it?
That's it. There was no stunt there.
Wow.
So if you're unaware, most car movies, like let's talk about Fast and Furious.
Yes.
Shout out Craig Lieberman. The Fast and the Furious.
That was the fastest shout out to Craig Lieberman.
No, we've definitely done sub 2 minutes.
No, what I mean by that is we said his name. You said his name in about a nanosecond.
Oh, Craig Lieberman.
And I was gonna say Craig Lieberman and Paul Shin. I'm gonna throw out Paul Shin again.
Shout out Paul Shin.
Shout out. Because he actually is someone who listens to our podcast, which is awesome, and I appreciate that.
Also, shout out to Nick, who's working on a Mark IV Super. He recently said that he's been listening to the podcast in the garage.
Thanks. Absolutely.
Can't wait
Definitely
to drive
shout out to
Supra.
Nick.
That's such a cool build.
That is so cool.
Sorry, totally getting off topic. So anyway,
what?
They only used 2 for filming. There was the black car and then the white car.
And usually they have a lot.
Right. Oh, yeah. So I was saying in
say
Fast
that,
and Furious, they had like 7, 8, 9. I think of the Supra from the Fast and Furious, I believe they had 10 or 11 of them.
Yes.
used for different shots. There were some that were, they were built to do stunts.
Yeah. Some
were built just so they could get good interior shots. Then they usually typically have a hero car.
Right, exactly.
And the hero car is the most complete car. It's what you would think of as a normal car. It's not chopped up. It's the hero car. It's It's the clean one.
And they had in Fast and Furious, they had 2 Vin Diesels. I don't know if people knew that. So
Oh God, we'll get into that later.
Okay. Alrighty.
But
alrighty.
yeah. So for the Ghostbusters, they only had 2 of them,
which is
one
crazy.
of which was the black. So they didn't have a backup one. So
well, they didn't do much with it, to be honest. In the first movie, they didn't do too much.
That's
okay,
true.
Go ahead.
But you have to remember that this is a 1959 Cadillac.
Yeah.
In the 1980s.
Yeah.
So the car is coming up on 30 years old.
Right.
We know how problematic 30-year-old cars are.
No, they run like a top all the time. No,
yeah.
and you're right.
So the interesting thing is that for Ghostbusters 2, they didn't get any more of them.
No.
They just upgraded the one
white
one, and it broke down on the Brooklyn Bridge during filming.
Man.
So you know the scene in Ghostbusters 2 where the car's backfiring and kind of breaking down ish.
Yeah.
That was real. The car was breaking down.
Wow.
So what ended up happening is to finish the rest of the shots, they took the original black one that they pulled up in the first movie and painted it and used that to finish the movie.
No.
So that black one that you see pull up, which is one of our favorite scenes.
It is. Absolutely.
Where he's like, it needs this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
That's actually used in the second movie as the Ecto 1A after the original one breaks down.
Wow. Okay, mind blown on that one. You just totally not shattered in a bad way, but just like blew my mind because I had no idea that they did that, and only 2.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember watching a special where someone made they basically rebuilt or they built an Ecto One, and they brought it to Dan Aykroyd. And Dan Aykroyd was like, "This is really cool." He was going over it, and he's like, "Yeah, this is what it looks like."
Yeah.
He said, "You did a great job." And I didn't realize that there were so few actual true Ecto Ones.
So that's what I found. And then, but the other thing is that apparently 1960 Cadillac ambulances are way easier to find.
Really?
But they don't have the fins on the back.
So
people make they make the fins out of metal or whatever, and cardboard and paper mache.
That's what I would make.
And paint them red and put them on the back. Because I believe the front end of the 1960 Cadillac's the same, but they took the fins away for 60.
Okay.
So that you have to add the fins in and add some chrome pieces.
Okay.
Blah blah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the original ambulance of the Ecto One was a 1959 Cadillac Miller Meteor.
Mm-hmm.
So it basically
made by the
Cadillac would make the car, send it off to Miller Meteor, who was actually based out of Ohio.
Okay.
And they would convert it into ambulances for a hospital or a hearse for a funeral home.
Yeah.
They built these specialty cars.
Wouldn't that be cool to like if you had to be in a hearse to have the Meteor one,
I mean, honestly, when I die, if they use the Ecto One, that'd be kind of cool. Everyone's crying, and that's all you hear. Something strange in the neighborhood. Everyone's crying.
No,
So Miller Meteor was a division of the Wayne Corporation.
Bruce Wayne?
No, that's what I thought at first. I was like, is this a Batman crossover?
They're different universes.
But the Wayne Corporation was actually founded in 1837
wow.
as a coach builder. So they literally built stage coaches. They built wagons. Which is really, really cool. The crowning safety achievement was the Wayne Lifeguard structural body design introduced in 1973, which featured continuous interior and exterior longitudinal panels. Basically, Wayne is responsible for the modern school bus. So after they built the Ecto One in the 70s, they designed the upright school bus, the yellow school bus that we're all familiar with.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen the Wayne name.
You've seen a school bus?
Yeah, I've seen actually a school bus.
Yeah, they're yellow. They look like Twinkies.
My parents, everyone in my family except for me, drove school buses.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Just want to let you know. Just a side note there, yeah.
Yeah, too bad you got out and had a life. Anyway.
Yeah, okay. Anyway.
But so the Lifeguard, basically, you know the 3 lines on the side of a school
Yes,
bus, the black
yes,
lines.
yeah.
You know what those are?
No.
So the bottom line is where the feet are. The
Oh.
second line up is where the seats are.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe the third line up is like where the shoulders are of the children.
Okay.
So it's like this safety measure of like basically like if it rolls over or crunches or something.
Huh.
I forget the exact meaning of it.
So there's an actual design purpose.
Yeah, for those
behind-
three lines, it's actually
Yeah.
safety spacing.
The more you know.
Yeah. Yeah, so
a little
next time
rainbow
you're-
coming across the screen here. You know.
Next
the more-
time you're ready to T-bone a bus doing 85 in your GMC Vandura, just know what you're
Wow,
aiming
that,
at.
That was a very specific call out, by the way, that you just said. That. All right.
But basically, so the Wayne Corporation purchased Meteor Motor Company in Ohio, and Meteor built professional cars such as limousines and such. Then they went and bought the Miller Corporation. So the
Oh.
Meteor Miller, or Miller Meteor, that built the
Okay.
Ecto One,
Yeah.
was actually, it used to be two rivaling companies.
Huh.
That this third coach builder bought both of them and made them work together
Wow.
to build the Ecto One. Again, this was not
Well,
just
not
the
the-
Ecto One, but like the car that produced the Ecto One. And basically, Wayne Corporation spent all of the 20th century just buying up coach builders. Because in the 20th century, coach building
Okay.
was dying. I mean,
Yeah.
by the 80s, coach building was essentially dead, except for
Okay.
over in Europe, there's still a handful. But
Yeah.
here in America, it used to be back in the 1930s. You could buy a chassis,
Right.
and you would send it off to a coach builder, and they're
Okay.
like, hey, you want us to build you a pumpkin-shaped car? Sure.
Right. Okay.
Because, there's not really many safety regulations.
Right.
But you'd buy the chassis, and you could send
Right.
it out. That's how we got a lot of cool cars back in the day, like a lot of, like, older, like, Phaetons and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah. Right.
It was you would buy a car, and then you'd send it off to a coach builder, and they
Got
would
it.
build you something special
makes
and
sense.
elegant and literally like nothing else on the road.
But nowadays,
Nowadays, with safety regulations,
Yeah,
it's
well-
impossible.
but there are coach builders, but they're like make limos. They do stretches. They
Yeah,
do, you can
there's
set it up,
definitely
yeah.
limo companies.
But that's
and
not anything near what you're talking
There's
about.
there's companies that you'll send them a Ford F, 650 chassis, and they'll put the
Yeah.
flatbed on the back. They'll put a
Right.
camper on the
Yeah.
back.
But that's
But this was
pretty
like
much the extent,
actual
yeah.
body work. This
Yes.
was not just sort of like Legos. This was like real craftsmanship.
right. Exactly.
And so throughout the 1900s, coach building really started to go away.
Mhm.
There wasn't really a need
That
for
makes
it
sense,
with
yeah.
pressing safety requirements.
yeah, no
it just
kidding.
didn't make sense. You couldn't
Yeah.
make these moving pieces of art because they would crumble in a crash, and the
Yeah,
government
there's
wasn't
that.
happy with that.
Yeah, there's that.
So the
Whatever.
Wayne Corporation spent pretty much all of the 1900s just buying up all of these coach builders. It's almost like AMC.
Okay.
AMC, the car company,
Right.
was a mixture of Hudson.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Geez, what was it? It was like AMC was founded off of Hudson. It was Nash.
Ernie Hudson. Ernie Hudson was
Ernie
in
Hudson.
this movie.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's-
It was Hudson.
See how I did
Nash.
the tie-in? See how I
Yes,
did
thank
that?
you.
All right.
I forget the other ones that joined in.
So
But-
Hudson, Nash, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So I thought that was
Okay.
really interesting. That it was. Oh, and then the Wayne Corporation went defunct in 1995.
Yeah.
They went bankrupt and sold off all their assets.
Yeah, that's when
Um,
Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, that's
Quit.
when Bruce Wayne's parents were shot. Maybe that's a timeline. In 1995, were Bruce Wayne's parents shot in 1995, and then they sold their coach building corporation?
Yeah.
But yeah, I went down a rabbit hole with the Ecto One.
Oh,
But it's
good.
super
Well,
cool
that's
that
fun.
it was,
Yeah.
the Ecto One was the product of a coach building company, which I
Yeah.
think is really, really cool and just something you don't see anymore.
It is. It is. It's totally cool. It was. It's funny too because not only was this a very interesting, iconic car, but really the second movie with Dan Aykroyd that we've at least watched. Second movie with Dan Aykroyd driving a real specialty car.
Oh yeah, because our first episode 1, go back
Yep.
and listen,
right.
or don't because we didn't have good microphones.
That's right.
Was the Blues Brothers,
Yes.
which had a very iconic, which actually when we were talking about that scene where Dan Aykroyd is listing all the things wrong with the Ecto One.
Yes.
I almost said it's got cop tires,
Right.
cop brakes, cop
You
suspension.
could blend those two together.
You really could. I mean,
because it's Dan Aykroyd, so you know.
I'm gonna
it's-
make a TikTok of just Dan Aykroyd listing car parts. That'll be my TikTok.
That
It'll
would
just
be
be
great.
across his movies where he's like cop tires, cop brakes,
right.
needs steering box, steering
Needs-
rack,
right.
brakes, brake pads, a little bit of wiring.
mufflers, you know. Yeah. Exactly. How much? Traded a microphone for it. I mean, that you could
Or
blend it.
4,800 for it,
Well, that's true.
which
48.
adjusted for inflation is about 11 grand today.
Is it?
Yeah, back in 1984, he buys the ambulance
wow.
for $4.5 grand, which
Yeah,
today
which
for
is-
inflation is about $11,000.
$11,000.
Which makes the joke a lot better in my
Yes.
eyes because I was like $4 grand. It actually, that's not bad.
That's
I
not
bought
bad. You got a
cars for
deal.
worse.
You got a deal for that. Exactly.
I mean, on
yeah.
Craigslist, that's a steal.
Why was Bill Murray Venkman?
Yeah.
Why was he? So upset? $4 grand.
Man, I wonder
That's all right.
what those ambulances go for.
No idea. I almost bought an ambulance once. I think we talked about this
Yeah.
before. It was a Cadillac ambulance. I have no idea what the coach body was, but it was very similar. I would say maybe not a 59, but maybe like a 65, like
Okay.
a 68, maybe.
So apparently, the original
Newer.
script called for a 1975 Cadillac
Oh.
ambulance,
Okay.
but they ended up changing it. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff we'll talk
A
about.
lot
with
of
the Ecto
stuff about how they, stuff,
But I have a couple excerpts here from thedrive.com.
Oh, great.
They did an article about
thedrive.com.
11 things that you didn't know about the Ecto
Shout
One.
out to the drive.com.
Shout out to thedrive.com. They've
Yeah.
featured my work a couple of times.
All
which
right,
has been
then
really
double
cool.
shout out.
Double
to
shout out to them.
drive.com, Yeah.
And they actually properly credited me, which is more than some people do. So
True. That's very.
let me
sad.
see here. So Steven. So this is from the Drive.
Steven Tyler.
No. That'd be great if Steven Tyler designed the Ecto One. That would have been. It would have been slightly different. Yeah.
It would be
Sweet emotion.
very different.
Yeah, it would have been a
card.
very different.
Would have been like sleek
yeah.
and swanky.
But so
Anyway,
Stephen Dane was
Stephen
he designed the Ecto One.
very cool.
Was tapped by director Ivan Reitman to design and oversee the development of Ecto One from scratch. He also designed the proton pack, particle thrower, trap, gigameter, slime scooper,
Wow.
and slime blower, all within 2 weeks of the start of shooting the film.
Yeah.
His name was misspelled in the credits, and he's only listed as a hardware consultant.
No kidding.
So
That's sad because those are all iconic pieces.
that's
Every
why I
single one
added
of them.
because designing the Ecto One is cool, but the proton packs, the particle thrower, the little trap that they throw,
yeah.
I mean everything.
Everything. So what's his name again?
His name is Stephen Dane.
Stephen Dane. So
Stephen
huge
Dane.
shout out to Stephen Dane for giving us all those really cool things.
Yeah, and there's an interview. I mean, obviously he's real old by now, but there was a
Okay, well, yeah.
like a mid-2000s interview, and
Yeah.
he's just lighting up talking about it.
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
you can
I'm
find it
sure.
on YouTube, and he has these drawings, these concept drawings.
Yeah.
They're so accurate, like so detailed.
Yeah, I
it
love
wasn't
looking at
like
those.
this boxy car and being like, all right, we'll throw a bunch of stuff on top.
Right, yeah.
It was like shading and
Okay.
like,
Very
these
cool.
pencil drawings are really cool.
Yeah.
So look it up.
Definitely look that up. Yeah.
For copyright, we
Fun.
won't be putting that.
Right.
So 2 millimeters were purchased, but converted. One was primarily used during filming. The primary vehicle was originally a gold ambulance. So the white one that
Wow.
we've come to know and
Okay.
love
Wow.
was
Is
originally
that actually gold. Wow.
The secondary vehicle was used mostly for the pre-modification scenes, where Stans talks about the laundry list of issues plaguing the car.
One of our favorite scenes.
One of our favorite scenes by far. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's just they only had 2 of them,
Wow.
and
That just
yeah.
blows me away. It is amazing. You're right. Most movies have tons of cars.
Yeah.
And they have the hero car, and then they've got the long shot. I mean, wow. That they just had the
Yeah.
2. That's
so
amazing.
so capitalizing on that,
Yeah.
the Ecto One crapped out on the Brooklyn Bridge while shooting Ghostbusters 2.
Wow.
Scenes from the film that show the car backfiring and billowing smoke did not use special effects. The car was on its deathbed. It died during
Wow.
the sequence on the Brooklyn Bridge, which caused such a huge traffic jam that the NYPD heavily fined the production. The aforementioned second millimeter was quickly converted for the remainder of the film, referred to as Ecto 1A.
Yes, that's right.
So the Ecto 1A scene in the second film is actually the black car seen in the first film pulling up with all of the issues.
Interesting.
So
very interesting.
I thought that was really cool.
It is very cool.
The millimeter production run was very limited. Only 400 vehicles were made. So this is 400 vehicles. Volo says that only 25 were ambulances. So they could be the same statistics. They might not be.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure. The power plant was a 6.3-liter V8, good for 320 horsepower. Seems like a lot until you factor in the car's curb weight, around 3 tons.
Oh, sure.
At nearly 20 feet in length, the Cadillac Millimeter was an unwieldly car to handle through, though it had a smooth ride thanks to an air suspension system.
Oh, that's neat.
It actually had air suspension.
Nice.
So that's it from the drive. Those are the interesting facts I pulled
what's
off
funny,
that.
too, is that you didn't think about that, but in the day when they actually used that car, it also, was that loaded up with medical equipment or no? Because stretchers are heavy, all the medical equipment is heavy. I mean, that's a lot of weight in addition to all the medical stuff that would go into one of those ambulances. So
yeah, you know,
crazy.
Having driven a couple 50s cars, they are built very different.
Yeah.
And everything feels so solid and
bolted
down.
Gosh,
There's
yes.
no rattling plastic in a 50s car.
No.
There's vinyl, there's screws, and there's metal.
Yeah.
Which, you know, you get in a 50s car and you think, wow, this thing is so much better built than cars today.
Yeah.
But then again, you look at it, and the cars weigh so much more.
Yeah, the weight
I mean,
is,
you're literally dealing with a lead bomb.
Yeah.
While driving.
Yep.
So
yep.
you know, it's cars today. You know, are maybe you could say less well built, but they're a lot lighter.
Sure.
You know,
absolutely,
they're not going to.
No, and they ding so easily and all of that. So,
I mean, they're thinner. I mean, you know, dinging an old 50s car is not easy to do.
No.
But yeah, so what are some of your favorite scenes from the movie? I mean, it's hard to even narrow them down.
Gosh, it's really hard to narrow it down because there's like 1,000,000,001 different cool scenes or iconic memes that you could pull out of there. I think some of my favorites are when Bill Murray is talking to Egon. So Venkman is talking to Egon, and he's about to give him a candy bar. Yeah. And then he kind of hesitates, and then he goes, "No, you've earned it. You've earned it." And he gives him the candy bar.
I believe that was a Crunch Bar, no?
I think it was.
So when Harold Ramis, who played Egon, passed away, the firehouse that they used for the filming of Ghostbusters, people put Twinkies and Crunch Bars outside when he passed away, which is really, really cool to see.
That is cool.
That's a great scene where he's like, you've earned it.
You've earned it. You deserve it. And it's those little tiny bits and pieces that I really appreciate. And the fact, too, that this is a really solid, well-written story that really, truly does follow the very standard 3-act structure. You could go through I think it's Sid Field, who wrote about the 3-act structure and really talked about it a lot in movie making. You really could follow that whole formula throughout that entire film, and it would have point to point to point. It is exactly like the structure of a well-written story. And you know, it just really flows so nicely.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm saying this is because it started out as crap. It was a terrible story. If you watch, actually on Netflix, I watched the Movies That Made Us.
Great series, by the way.
Great series. Shout out to Netflix on that. And it showed a lot about how they actually threw this together. In the beginning, this movie was going to be set in outer space.
Yeah,
so
I mean, there was so many iterations of this movie.
Yeah, exactly. Ghostbusters in outer space. And they were going to be more like janitors, like there was Ghostbusters everywhere, like it was being Yeah. So it was.
Yeah.
very
Also,
common thing,
the original concept, the Ecto One, to tie it back into cars, was going to be black and have all purple lights on top, which would have looked really cool and menacing.
Cool.
And
yeah.
it was also going to have like time travel capabilities and could dematerialize.
Yeah. Okay. I can see that.
But the reason they switched it to white
Yeah.
was because the cinematographer was like, "Hey, we're getting all these shots of the car driving through New York at night.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to see it."
That's true.
Because a black car, unless they had their lights on, which they didn't have their lights on for most of those shots,
right?
Especially that iconic one over the bridge.
Yes.
At sunset.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to see it as well.
No, and that's a really good point. Plus the fact that Dan Aykroyd is he actually said at one point it was supposed to be kind of like a clown car.
Yeah.
Because it was these goofy guys getting out of this car, and it was supposed to be kind of a goofy car. So it made sense that it was white. It made sense, that the colors made a lot of sense. But I totally get the idea of wanting to do like black and purple because that's Halloween. That's scary.
Yeah.
That's, the typical. I could imagine it being more looking like the Batmobile, which is like black and orange.
Yeah.
Making it more like that color scheme would be cool. In fact, I have a model of it. I might paint it black and orange.
You could do that, yeah.
Just as a fun little thing to do.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
But I think, obviously they made the right choice with making
yeah, I
it
mean,
white
so many iterations.
Yeah.
Yep. John Candy read for the role of Rick Moranis.
He did.
Well, whoever Rick Moranis played, not the role. He didn't. He wasn't trying to play.
I want to play
different kids. But apparently John Candy wanted to give him a German accent and have him have two little small dogs.
Yeah,
and Ivan Reitman was like, "What?
He didn't.
No."
Yeah, he wanted to play it more serious. He didn't get the idea of the character.
Yeah.
And actually, from what I understand too, from the show on Netflix, it was actually Sigourney Weaver's idea to have them turn into dogs on top of the building. So I guess she did a whole thing. She came into Ivan Reitman's office.
Yeah.
And the not talent agent, but the woman hiring the talent.
Yeah.
Brought her in and she said, "Oh, it'd be great if you did this like." They turned into dogs, and evidently Sigourney Weaver basically got on the desk like a dog and was going through all and Ivan Reitman was like, wow, she really wants to do this movie, I guess. So.
But that's what kind of makes this movie great is because it genuinely feels like movie making.
Yes, absolutely.
Where, it's not this, there's no corporate agenda.
Right.
There's no pushing from, because, they had so many of these ideas,
they
weren't shot down because a corporate sponsor said no. They weren't shot down because this, that, or the other. It's just it was just Dan Aykroyd going, "Oh, this is stupid. Let's do it a different way."
Well, if you watch the movies that made us and you watch the behind the scenes from that particular show on Netflix, and I highly recommend you do if you like this movie, you will see all of the corporate stuff that went on behind the scenes. And the fact that the company they made it, I think it was Paramount, that they made it for, or Columbia, they made it for, they said, you have to have this done in 10 months. 10 months.
Oh, cool. Never mind then.
No,
I'm totally wrong.
No. It was, but to your point, what's funny is if you watch this Netflix show, you'll see that they still did whatever they deemed.
Yeah.
Because at one point, the owners of the, I don't know if it was Sony. You'll see in this thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were bought by Coke. So literally,
yes, I remember
Coca-Cola owned this whole thing, and they were like, "Yeah, we're not that interested in making movies, but we want to tell you what to do." And they were like, "No, you're not going to tell us what to do." Basically, so a lot of really fun, cool stuff about corporations, and thank goodness people stood up to them and said, "No, we're going to make this movie the right way, and we're going to do it this way."
Which I think later led to. In the 90s, they had, I think it was Coca-Cola made a soda for Ghostbusters.
Probably did.
Slime coolers or something.
Yeah. There was a lot. I mean, they talk a lot about, obviously, the merchandising. But
2 years later, they put out the real Ghostbusters, which was a cartoon, which we'll talk about later. Has a very interesting tie-in with the first movie.
Really?
Well, I'll just get to it now.
All right.
Sorry, you know what?
What are you waiting for? What are you
After this commercial break,
and we'll tell you in a minute.
Number
Stay tuned.
6 will shock you. Those are terrible.
And the best weight loss secret is this. No.
In the
Avoid
first movie,
this fruit at
in the
all
first
costs.
movie, a little bit of trivia for you. Who named Slimer?
In the first movie, I think I don't know. I don't know who named Slimer.
Slimer's never named.
Okay.
Dan Aykroyd
Right.
says it's the ghost of John Belushi.
Yes, and Bill Murray is the one who said he slimed me.
Right.
So
but
that's all we get. But yeah,
he was never. They used to call him. I think it was like Stinky Onion Ghost or something, or like Onion Head. Oh, Onion Head. That almost kill you.
wow,
on your
sorry,
Onion
you did.
Head.
I almost choked there. Yeah, it was, that was my nickname in high school.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't not at all.
He was never. Slimer was never called by name in the first movie.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't believe in the second movie. It was the TV show where they said they named him Slimer.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
which came later. Is the cartoon TV show.
Yeah.
But anyway, the reason I said it feels like real filmmaking is that I read a fact that almost every scene contained at least one improvised line. So, and most of Bill Murray's lines went off script. I mean,
I don't imagine. I can't. Yeah.
Bill Murray is like the biggest loose cannon in Hollywood.
Yes.
In the best way possible. Yeah. What? Go on.
No, I was going to say they said about him that to the very day they didn't know if he was going to show up or not. And actually, he was in Europe filming a serious movie. He wanted to do a serious movie.
Yeah.
And so he went to
Groundhog Day.
No, it was a very serious. That was another Ivan
Groundhog
Reitman.
Day 2.
Okay. No.
Groundhog Day 2. Here we go again.
That's not a real movie.
That's
I
our
hope.
musical adaptation.
Oh,
Anyway,
that's right, exactly. Like we did for the last one, whatever we did.
Was it Ford versus Ferrari we're gonna make into a
I think it was
musical?
Ford versus Ferrari musical, the musical.
We could do it.
Totally. So he was off shooting this serious quote. I'm doing air quotes. Serious film.
Yeah. Here.
And there you go. That's our air quotes.
The air quotes.
He was doing this, and I guess because he really didn't think this was a big deal or whatever, and I guess they roped him into it. Anyway, he showed up first day. Dan Aykroyd said at 8:00 when he was supposed to. He showed up, and Dan Aykroyd said, "Yeah, that's just the way Bill was. Is he just would do things randomly like that."
Mm-hmm.
And when he had a big falling out with Harold Ramis. They were very good friends, and then when they were filming Stripes, there was a big fallout. And so basically, what happened was when Harold Ramis was literally on his deathbed, he had cancer, I believe, and was passing away. Anyway, Bill Murray he knew what town Harold Ramis lived in, and here in Illinois, and said. I should say they're in Illinois because we're in New York.
Right, because we're in the Firehouse.
We're in the Firehouse in New York.
The 8th hook and ladder, I believe.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes. And by the way, it was also Ghost Breakers.
Right,
and
because there was a
Ghostbusters,
copyright infringement, but they ended up getting the name by the end of the movie.
Yes, but by the skin of their teeth, though.
Right.
But what happened was Harold Ramis was very close to death. And Bill Murray came in, and he went to the town police station and said, I need to know, take me to Harold Ramis. That's what he did.
Yeah.
And they gave him a police escort to Harold Ramis's house. I guess they talked for several hours and kind of mended all the wounds.
Yeah.
So really kind of a neat story at the end there. But anyway, it was very interesting. But Bill Murray, wow, just
so
crazy.
I mean, I also recently watched Zombieland,
Oh,
which
you
Bill
did?
Murray
Yeah.
is in.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He is. Yes.
Because they
yes,
break
yes,
into
yes.
Bill Murray's house, and then Bill Murray's acting like a ghost.
Right.
There's actually a Ghostbusters cameo. They start playing the.
Is there?
They start playing the music, yeah, and Emma Stone is like, "Oh help, oh help," and then
right.
Woody Harrelson
Yes.
and Bill Murray come in with vacuum cleaners,
Right.
and which is
Okay.
funny because Woody Harrelson is playing Venkman.
Oh,
And,
hilarious.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
Bill Murray is
Yeah.
he's like, see you on the other side, Pete.
Right.
And anyway, but
hilarious.
allegedly, legend has it
Yeah.
that Bill Murray does
Mhm.
not have an agent anymore. He
Huh.
has an answering machine.
That's it?
So
What?
apparently,
Okay.
apparently no one knows the phone number. You have to be in the Hollywood elite to know the phone number.
Okay.
But
All right.
basically, people just call this answering machine.
Yeah.
Say, hey, Bill, I'm doing a movie. It's called The Incredibles 2. Do you want to be in it? And if he likes the idea, he'll call you back.
Yeah.
If he doesn't like the idea or just doesn't listen to it, he just doesn't do it.
Yeah.
So apparently, they're...
Hey, Bill, I'm doing Lost in Translation 2.
Yeah.
The redo.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to call it.
Really funny Bill Murray scene is, spoiler alert for Zombieland.
Yeah.
We are in Halloween, so it counts.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
He scares one of the kids because he's dressed up like a zombie, and then he actually shoots him.
Right.
And kills Bill Murray, and he's laying there.
Yeah.
And they're like, do you have any regrets? Do you remember what he says?
I do.
He goes,
I do.
maybe Garfield.
Maybe Garfield. Yeah, that's what he says.
Which was
maybe
another
Garfield.
one of Bill Murray's
Yeah.
movies, which was not so great.
No. I mean, that every actor, I think, goes through a whole bunch of movies that aren't great, and then they have a couple that are good. Obviously, Bill Murray has a ton of good movies.
Right.
And very famous and very big movies and all that, and it's wonderful. But every actor, I mean, even him, and it's funny that he says Garfield because, that was kind of a...
I remember that came out,
movie.
I think, when I was a kid.
Yeah,
And,
probably.
yeah, it was... Because wasn't it like... Garfield was like... It was like a weird animated into real life, right? Because wasn't Garfield animated?
I think so, yeah, but I don't think it was... I mean, back then, that wasn't that good or easy or whatever.
Yeah,
it
I mean,
wasn't
like,
that great.
the thing that jumps into my head is like Space Jam. Like,
with
the cartoon characters, which
Bill Murray wasn't in that one.
no.
Well,
But like
you're saying-
the style of like real life Michael Jordan.
Yeah, Michael Jordan,
with
which
Daffy Duck.
right, and now Space Jam 2
I
is
know.
coming
With
out.
LeBron James.
Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
That's what we call it. No, it was. With wait, who's doing it?
LeBron
Shaq?
James.
What?
No, not Shaq.
Shaq.
Oh my God.
I would love it if Shaq.
I
was in
would
that
buy
movie.
out an entire theater.
I would do.
Get
I would
some
do that
Soda
too.
Shack. Which, if you don't know,
Shaq soda,
in
yeah.
2013, Shaq
Yes.
had a soda line.
Yes.
Which we thought was hilarious because this was
yeah.
also when the General commercials were
Yes.
coming out, and he was in Icy Hot, and Shaq was everywhere in 2013. He still is.
He is.
And he was in the Buick commercials. And I know that ain't no Buick. But he had a soda line called Soda Shack.
Yeah, and
we went down to Austin, Texas, me and my dad.
Yep.
And we got a bunch of these. Like, we drank like a lot of them.
We did.
Like a fair
we
amount.
Bought, yeah,
we at least tried all the flavors.
They were
and
giant. They were like 24 ounces.
yeah,
or
they're like
something.
Arizona iced tea sized.
Yeah, exactly. They were huge.
And it was just so funny. But now there's what is it?
Yeah.
There's 4 flavors and there's 2 of each. So 8 of them.
8 of them.
There's
yeah.
8 for sale on eBay right now for $1,500
Yeah.
unopened.
Yeah.
Which is
Crazy.
just insane.
Yeah,
Which can't still be good. That's 8-year-old
Well, no,
soda.
but
as a prop, maybe.
But it's pretty much all chemicals anyway. So
That's true.
do
That's
chemicals ever?
Half-Life.
Yeah, Half-Life. Yeah.
But anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, no, LeBron James is doing the new Space Jam.
Is he?
But let's get back to the Ghostbusters cast.
Okay. All right.
Let's transition over to Dan Aykroyd,
Yes.
who is a nutcase.
Shout out to Dan Aykroyd. I know
Shout
he's a
out to
listener.
Dan
so
Aykroyd. I know he's an avid
Yeah.
listener. Also, he always replies to the podcast.
That's
Well,
true.
he has the Crystal Head
Yeah.
vodka.
yes,
Which I actually haven't had. Did you have the Crystal Head
yes,
vodka?
I had
Is it
that.
good?
It's good. It's good.
Just good vodka.
I mean,
All right.
it's good vodka. Yeah,
It comes in a literal crystal skull.
it does. and I
like-
guess he can't call it Crystal Skull. I think there's a patent on
It's
or the
Crystal
trademark.
Head. Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I'm sure he would call it Crystal Head, but it's Crystal Skull. No,
No, he
Crystal
would
Skull.
call it Crystal Skull, but it
It's
is
Crystal
Crystal
Head.
Head.
And yeah, I mean, I had it. It was fine. I'm whatever. It
Yeah.
was okay, and I wouldn't say I had it and it was so great. It's like quadruple distilled through diamonds or something.
Yeah, I
crazy thing
remember
like
you
that, but yeah.
gave me and my brother Nick
Yeah.
a bottle of it as
Yes,
but
I did.
you had put water in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they might have been empty actually.
well,
But you
I
gave us the Crystal Head.
I drank both of them and then
Shit.
handed them to you in
and
one
after
go.
you were done beating us, You gave us the crystal head.
Well, that was the nice part.
Yeah.
First,
well,
it's
you gave us a lot of odd-shaped vodka bottles as kids. Because there was the
machine
Tommy gun
yeah,
one.
the Tommy gun one,
which I think the tip shattered, didn't it?
Yeah, probably.
I think we were playing with it like a
really
regular
terrible
toy.
thing for a dad to give his son is a Tommy gun shaped vodka bottle
That
but
ended up
that's me.
shattering.
That's me,
Yeah, good
So
dad.
yeah, and like
Parent of the
gotta-
year.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
But anyway, he's a real tinfoil hat guy now. So he is, for some reason, super into aliens, super into UFOs and the paranormal, and
Yeah. So do you know why?
no.
Because his whole family, he comes from a family of paranormal investigators.
Oh.
So
How is this a legitimate business?
it is.
Like the Taps guys back in the 2000s, they were roto-rooters during the day. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
You remember the Ghost Hunters
I
show?
do. Oh,
and it showed them
absolutely.
transforming their
Yes.
trucks from
exactly.
roto-rooter trucks
to Taps
into the
yes, exactly.
paranormal
Taps.
investigators mobile.
Which was always, I mean, to me, it was always fun. We used to watch those shows and
Oh,
had a
yeah.
great time watching them, but mostly because of like Tango, the kid
Yeah.
Tango in there, and it was interesting stuff. So Dan Aykroyd is a very real believer in the paranormal, and he comes from a family. Again, this comes from the documentary that I watched on Netflix called "The Movies That Made Us," and it's fascinating because he talks about it where generations of his family were investigated or did a lot of research about paranormal stuff. And so a lot of what he says is that this script was actually the culmination of all of the stuff
Yeah.
that his family had researched over the years, and so he felt kind of proud about that, but very much a believer in the paranormal. And if you go online to the Crystal Head distillery or whatever, you go on there, you will see a video of Dan Aykroyd, and he talks totally about the paranormal and how very real it is and all of that. So,
I know
what
he went
Dan
on
wants to do.
Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
I know you're not a fan of that, but
Yeah, it's all right.
he went on and he was promoting his vodka, and then they just went down a rabbit hole of
I'm sure.
UFO
Yeah.
and
All that stuff. I mean,
paranormal, and so very, very interesting guy.
Yeah.
It's very interesting seeing him in the movies that I grew up with.
Yes.
Of Ghostbusters and the Blues Brothers.
Yes.
And he was like this kind of smooth talking kind of.
Yeah. Well-
kind of a B character, not a B character.
Yeah.
I feel like he wasn't ever the lead.
He was, but
I feel like for Blues Brothers, I feel like John Belushi really stole the show. At least for me, no?
I don't know. I mean, it was a pretty good bounce back and forth between the two. I mean, John Belushi was a
Was it John or Jim?
Jim is his brother.
Oh,
There's a
okay.
Jim Belushi, his brother.
I always mix that up.
But obviously they both put a lot into that movie. But Ivan Reitman said that Dan Aykroyd is a concept man. So Dan Aykroyd came up with the concept of on Saturday Night Live of Bassomatic, not the eggheads, the
Coneheads.
The Coneheads, obviously.
Wasn't he a part of the Czechoslovakian
Yes,
brothers?
Wild
with
and
Steve
Crazy
Martin?
Guys. I mean, he came
Yeah.
up with all that stuff. Fred Garvin, male prostitute. I mean,
Yeah.
that was another one that was very famous. And then came up with all these things. Blues Brothers he came up with he and John Belushi. So he had all these great concepts. I mean, they really, where are they coming from? I don't know, but maybe beyond.
I was gonna say maybe he's.
We need that music of the X-Files.
Oh, wait, no, that's Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone. Well, that too. It could be Twilight Zone.
Shout out to Rod Serling,
yes,
who's in the intro song.
Oh yes, there you
so
go.
shout out to him.
Right, yeah. So definitely very interesting. Dan Aykroyd, very, very interesting person. One of the few actually that I would like to meet in person. One of the few stars that I would actually like to meet.
Yeah.
I could do without meeting a whole bunch of stars, but I would like
Which
to
shan't
meet.
be named because most of them listen to the pod.
Yeah, most of them.
Yeah.
It's like 99%. So Dan Aykroyd is one person that I would love to meet and just talk to. And just have a conversation, have a beer, or some vodka,
Crystal
Head vodka, and say, hey,
From what I've heard of the podcasts he's been on,
Yeah.
he'll go like, hey, do you want like 3 cases of Crystal Head?
Really?
And people are like, he just like send a bottle, a bottle's
yeah.
nice, but he's like, oh, do you want me to back up a Mack truck into your living room with Crystal Head? Like,
actually, I'm open to that. So Dan, if you're listening,
yeah,
I'll take the case of Crystal Head. So,
but so the other two, I mean, Harold Ramis obviously passed away. He had a very quiet life after the 80s and 90s. Really,
he did, but an amazingly talented person. And by the way, talking about these people. Many of these people that we're talking, well, okay, maybe a few, are in the third, I was going to say Gumball Rally. They're not.
Ghostbusters.
No, not Ghostbusters.
Third.
What is it?
Oh,
it's Cannonball
Speed Zone.
Run. Speed Zone.
Speed Zone, really?
Cannonball, yeah, John Candy's in it.
John Candy. Harold
Ramis. Rick Moranis. Eugene Levy. I think so. Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to check it out.
Does Eugene Levy play a dad? A disappointed dad, like
no.
he does in every other movie.
It's true. That is one of his definite characters for Eugene Levy's the disappointed
American
dad.
Pie movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
And he plays the dad in. He plays Dory's dad in Finding Dory.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Bella and I watched Finding Dory like while we were watching Schitt's Creek.
Oh.
And I'm like, no way. I was like, that's the voice. And so I immediately got on IMDb.
And sure enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. But again, though, and the people in this film, okay, I'm just totally segueing here, but the people in this film, all amazing actors and amazing
Sigourney Weaver
stars.
didn't really do much after this, huh?
Yeah, her career just tanked after this.
Alien.
Avatar, Alien. We talked about that.
Yeah.
The fact that she did all these. And I truly believe in this whole era right now of trying to create movies that have strong female characters. Oh my gosh.
Sigourney Weaver
Weaver's
like
the top.
In that. Yeah.
She is the top
I
when
wouldn't
it
say
comes
pioneer, but like definitely one of the when it wasn't legally required to have a strong female
when
lead.
there wasn't a regulation by the U.S. federal whatever.
She was that's a role model of strong female leads that we want.
And exactly. We talked about this in another podcast about strong female leads, which is great because if you want to know how to write for one and who portrays it, it's Sigourney Weaver. You look at Alien,
and even
you look
in
at all
this
this
movie,
stuff.
now that I sort of think about it,
Yeah.
Peter Venkman obviously has this crush on.
Right.
He's this goofy professor scientist type, and she doesn't like just give in. She's not like, oh, what a smart boy. She's like, get out of my apartment. What are you doing?
That was Mickey Mouse, by the way.
Oh no, wait, that's Mario.
No, what do you know? What do you know?
Oh,
you're a smart guy, Mr. Fakeman.
Oh boy. Oh boy! I got ghosts in my apartment.
Trademark Walt Disney, by the way. We can't say
Walt Disney.
Yeah.
Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
Shout out Walt Disney World.
Exactly.
What a place.
Yeah, actually, it is.
Yeah.
I have to say, I totally love
Monorail.
Walt Disney World.
Monorail. Is
But
that Simpsons episode about the Disney monorail?
No.
Or is it just about a monorail?
It's about a monorail, but kind of to the Music Man.
Wild.
They're weird.
Because I was looking, because we rode the monorail.
Right.
To get to the park.
Right.
And there's no track for it.
No.
It
not
just
really.
rides on a
rides
cement beam.
Yeah.
Like it's like a sidewalk, but it's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, and the name monorail comes from mono as in mononucleosis, and rail as in you're getting railroaded to go to prison or something.
I don't think that's true. I'm gonna be
okay,
honest.
that's completely
I think mono
false.
means one and rail means rail.
Okay, so I completely made up that, and it just didn't work.
You got me for the first half.
Really?
You got
For
me in the first half. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay,
Yeah.
All right.
But anyway,
So, yes,
Sigourney Weaver, very strong character.
awesome character.
Also, you gotta love Rick Moranis.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
totally.
honestly, he could have
Totally.
shot a pedestrian in the face, and you'd be like, "Oh, Rick." Lewis Tully, who I have in a minifigure.
Yeah. Exactly.
I also have him in dog form.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you had that. Okay.
Oh yeah, I got all the forms.
Yeah.
We also have that really nice set of Ghostbuster
the
characters
Christmas
somewhere.
ones. The Christmas
where
ones. You gave them to me.
They have cloth clothing on, and they're
it's
really
the Christmas
nice.
one, right?
They give
you
little
gave
Christmas
that one
hats.
to me.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna totally put them in our studio back where we live, not because we're in New York right now. And we're here
after
in
we
New York.
spend our $151 million here on Broadway. Just
Right.
seeing Mamma Mia 18 times and then Stomp once, because you can see Stomp once and then you get the point. Stomp is
And
one of the
fir-
worst Broadway shows
In like the
ever.
first 5 minutes, you probably understand what Stomp
I
is.
saw Stomp on Broadway,
Yeah.
and I was sitting there and I zoned out on accident.
Did you really?
Well, I zoned. I
Okay.
was, what was I? I was 2013. I was
Yeah.
what? I think I was.
7,
No, I
8.
was 16. I was 16.
All right, so yeah,
I was a kid. I was,
Right.
thinking about
Yeah.
other things.
Was that when you were doing David Letterman? You were
No,
on,
that was
shout out David
afterwards.
Letterman.
Shout out
you,
David
You
Letterman.
did David Letterman.
I was on
you were
David
on,
Letterman. Yeah.
You were on David Letterman.
I wasn't on the
Google
couch,
it.
unfortunately.
No,
but
Google it.
Google
and
Kid Scientist.
Yeah.
May 12th, 2012. But
yeah,
the next year,
exactly.
I went
Yeah.
back to New York to
Yeah.
find myself, and I was at
Yeah.
Stomp, and I
Yep.
zoned out
Yep.
as a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
And I was actually 15 at the time because it was in the spring. And I zoned back in,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, they're just banging on garbage cans. I was like, I could walk down Fifth Avenue right now and see some guy all hopped up on coke doing the same
yeah,
thing.
Yeah, that actually was the subtitle to the movie and the show.
Banging on
trash
Yeah.
cans. That's pretty much what it was.
I remember I zoned back in, and I wasn't with like the rhythm of it.
Oh,
So I
Yeah.
was like, oh, this is just noise.
yeah.
And then they ended that song, if you can call it a song, and
That
started the
thing.
next one. I was like, oh, okay, I got back into the rhythm of it. But
Okay.
like, I fell out of rhythm with it, and then I was like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But
I
Anyway, don't see Stomp.
wow. Okay.
Don't
No
see Stomp.
shout.
No shout out to Stomp.
No shout.
No shout out to Stomp.
Anyway, you know what's going to be a really good musical? There's Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah,
that's
going to
be one to
Ferrari
go
is
to.
going to take down Broadway. It's going to be the end all be all.
It is. It is absolutely.
yeah.
I think we've got a thing there. So yeah. So anyway,
Opening night, it's opening night. Max Bialystok's latest show. The Greatest
what?
Showman.
Oh,
Max
I've never seen
Bialystok's
that.
latest show.
I did not
will
see that.
Stop or will it go?
Did
With
not
Matthew Broderick?
No,
He
did
doesn't
not
kill
see it.
someone in this movie?
Wait,
That's only real life?
are you talking about The Greatest Showman?
No.
What?
No. What? The producers. What did I say?
You said The Greatest Showman. You said The Greatest. And
Oh,
I was like,
just lying.
wasn't
No.
that Hugh Jackman?
Yeah, no.
Didn't he do that? And it wasn't Matthew Broderick.
No,
Anyway,
the
yeah.
producers.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
The producers is a
Which
great
is a great movie and everything, and
and
show
and lifestyle.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right.
But yeah, so maybe should we make a Ghostbusters at? Has there not been talks of a musical Ghostbusters?
I would be surprised if there was.
I mean,
it
it's
would be
such. It was
Yeah.
most of the quotes from the movie are in some top 100 list for movie
Oh, yeah.
quotes.
Yeah,
I mean, it's. We'll get to the trivia later, but it
Okay.
made a lot of money, even scaled for current money. It
Oh,
made
yeah.
a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
And
they, it's funny because they knew that the guy who's the producer at Columbia, I think it was Columbia, said he knew immediately he knew this was going to be a moneymaker. And when they asked Ivan Reitman, they said, "Hey, how much money do you need?" And literally Ivan Reitman.
Ivan Reitman, it's a hard name.
Yes. When he responded and said he had no idea what to ask for, and he goes, $25 million, and they got done.
Yeah.
Start shooting. It was like that was how sure they were that this was going to be a done deal and make
Which,
money.
if
And
you
they were
listen
right.
to the concepts,
Yeah.
it does not sound like a good
No,
movie or a good idea.
Well, and they said, well, so the idea was, this paranormal team, and it's going to star Dan Aykroyd and hopefully John Belushi.
yeah,
and
that was the original idea.
and Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, that
Eddie
was
Murphy.
another big
Yeah.
scandal. So,
Yeah.
not scandal.
Well, it's a thing, yeah.
So
whatever.
Ernie Hudson played Winston
Shaq
Zedmore.
was going to be in it.
Shaq was what? He was probably 15 years old when
He
this thing
probably-
came out.
Anyway, yeah.
So Ernie Hudson played Winston Zedmore.
Yeah.
And originally that part was written for Eddie Murphy.
Yes.
Eddie Murphy ended up getting a role in this little film called Beverly Hills Cop.
Whatever.
And so he
Only, like,
backed out
totally
of the movie
launched
at the
his
last
career.
moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they cut his scenes in half. Winston Zedmore joins like halfway through the movie. Where originally he was just going to be a part of the team. He had a whole backstory that
Oh,
he was.
yeah, he was going to be a big
I believe
character.
in the Air Force. He was like a mechanic in the Air Force.
Yeah, he was going to
and
have this big
that's why
thing.
he was on the team, because he had this great mechanical knowledge
right.
and he brought something special to the table. And basically, when Eddie Murphy backed out, they cut most of that. And Ernie Hudson has always said in interviews that it's the best movie he's ever made, and he was so glad to be cast. But he said that he's always had to live with this fact that he was just kind of shoehorned in to the movie, which I could very well see being very difficult to deal with, knowing that you were the second choice.
Yeah,
that they couldn't get the big star, so then let's call up this guy.
Well, and they do mention the fact that initially when he signed on, he actually, like you said, he was very, very early in the script. He had lines very early in the script. In fact, he had the line, "He slimed me." He was the one supposed to say
get
that.
Slimed in the hotel.
And then all of a sudden, he doesn't show up now until page 60, which is 60 minutes into the film, basically. A page
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah, about a page per script, a script page. Or a minute per script page. Anyway, so he's like, oh, okay. And then they were changing things, and he said he was kind of moping around about it. I think it was Harold Ramis. I'm not sure if it was Harold Ramis or Dan Aykroyd, who basically said, don't take this personally. It's just the way that the movie industry is. It's not a personal thing. It's just the way the movie industry is. And he said he always remembered that and said, he finally kind of chilled out after that.
Yeah.
And realized, okay, it's just cool to be in this movie and stuff.
Right.
So,
which, ended up being the movie of his career.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
can't name him from anything else.
No, he's been in a couple other things, but,
Yeah.
It's definitely something that put him on the map, to be
100%.
absolutely sure. But it did. I mean, in the movie, that was one of probably the weakest things, was bringing his character in, because there wasn't much explanation. It was just, we just picked this guy up, and it's like, did you really need him?
Yeah, they were like, it wasn't even like a casting call. They were just like, the guy needed a job, so they're like, all right, cool.
Well,
can you drive or whatever?
And then, Dan Aykroyd he said that they needed a character in the middle of the film that they could explain all of their stuff to, like the fact that they kept.
Oh, interesting. It's basically a way to explain to the audience.
Yes.
Which, it's a very common tactic
Yep,
in film.
it is.
Where you're like, let me show this new character
new guy.
stuff, but
It's
really
always
what
the
you're
new-
doing is you're showing
the
audience.
The audience. And you're building in the backstory and exposition by bringing in this character and saying, hey, here's this new world. You see it all the time. And it's, the new guy is always really plays the part of the audience that doesn't know anything.
Right.
And you bring, especially in a fantasy, you have to bring them into the world. Avatar does the same thing. But you have to bring these people into this world. And so you explain it through, they sometimes call it a window character. It's sometimes the new guy character. But basically it's whoever's new, they explain it, and the audience gets to see and goes, oh, okay, I get this.
Yeah.
So, but that became his character was then that character that was the new guy, so they could explain the trap, they could explain all the stuff that they were doing and give a lot of background to it without being very obvious about trying to explain everything and all that. So, I mean, totally normal, regular. Like I say, this is really a textbook formatted movie. And it sounds negative to say that, but it's not. It's a great way to say, hey, this is the way that you tell an interesting story and you build an interesting movie. I mean, it really is. Again, it goes through all of the different sequences that a good movie would have. So anyway, I know you probably have trivia.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you wanted to get to the trivia at that point in the pod.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea.
Cool.
Yep.
So I already mentioned this one, but so this is brought to you by, but in no way sponsored by, IMDb.
Yep.
This is directly pulled from IMDb.
Right.
On set, Dan Aykroyd referred to Slimer, the Slimer ghost, as the ghost of John Belushi. Slimer's gluttonous eating was based on Belushi's cafeteria scene in National Lampoon's Animal House.
Yep.
Which was, we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
This I found was kind of interesting and kind of redundant. The firehouse is actually 2 different firehouses in 2 different cities.
It is.
The
yes.
exterior is in New York City, and the interior is in downtown Los Angeles.
Yes.
The Los Angeles Firehouse has been used in many movies.
Yes. It's also condemned now.
Oh,
the Los
interesting.
Angeles one,
Which-
according to the Netflix.
Which
show.
is interesting because normally it's very common. Like, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, one of my favorite TV shows.
Oh, awesome!
They film the
show.
exteriors
Yeah.
in Philadelphia,
Yeah.
but they film the interiors on a soundstage in Los Angeles.
Sure. Yeah.
This did that, where they filmed the exteriors on the East Coast and
Yeah.
the interiors on the West Coast,
Right.
but they still didn't use a soundstage. They just used a different firehouse.
Okay. Right. Exactly. It wasn't a stage.
Because it makes practical sense to film, soundstage stuff back in Los Angeles because there's a soundstage every 45 feet. I feel like
True.
when we were there, we drove by so many back lots.
A bazillion.
And
Yeah. We
sound
were
stages.
actually on. Which one were we on?
We were in Studio City. So.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
Okay. Well, that kind of.
No,
makes
but I mean, we were on. Was it
Ventura Boulevard.
Yeah.
That's what we were staying off of at
No, but
Sportsman Lodge. Shout out.
Yes, which was totally cool. And we went to the table read for The Simpsons, but I was trying to remember who was that? What studio was it though? What was the name of the studio or whatever?
That we were on?
Yeah.
It was Fox.
Oh, it was
We were on
Fox.
Fox's lot,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, duh.
Which was really cool
Yeah.
to see empty city
Yeah.
streets that they dress up for commercials and stuff.
Yeah, there was. That was a lot of fun.
But
And-
normally, you film it back in Los Angeles because there's 1.5 million sound stages, and that's just how it's done.
Yep.
But they just filmed it in a different fire. I mean, they could have filmed it in an Oklahoma firehouse.
Right.
Who cares?
Yeah. Well,
I just thought it was so funny that they used the exteriors. I guess I'm sure it was
Yeah.
probably an operational firehouse at the time.
Yeah.
In New York, so they probably couldn't film in that specific one.
I think it was actually, and they actually showed. They only could do exteriors, like you said, so they showed the car driving out of
Right.
it. But you're right;
And
it
putting
actually
the sign
was.
up.
Yes, exactly. That was an operation.
There is
It
a
still
Lego
is.
version of the Ghostbusters
Is there?
Firehouse. And maybe if I
Not a
ever
surprise.
have time,
Yeah.
maybe that's a retirement thing. I'll build that. They also have a
Yeah.
a 1/8 size Ecto One out of Legos. It's
1/8 size. Holy
it's
crap!
2 feet long.
Yeah,
It's
that would
huge.
be huge. Okay,
But yeah. So moving on with the trivia. The jail
Yep.
scene was filmed in a prison that was reportedly haunted.
Ah,
And
nice.
the dailies, which is, the
Oh, yeah.
film that they
Film
shot that
dailies,
day,
Yeah.
had scratches all over them with no apparent physical cause. Ivan
That's
Reitman
fun.
was concerned about returning there, and the
Mhm.
crew was very relieved to find enough footage to complete the scene without having to return to
Wow.
the jail.
Wow.
So they found these weird scratch marks
Yeah.
on their footage that they filmed in a haunted jail, and
Yeah.
there wasn't any explanation for these scratches.
That's fun. That's
which
a
is-
fun fact.
I mean, it's
That's
a fun little paranormal
Yeah.
thing for a paranormal movie.
Yeah. Well, exactly. There's a lot of stories about horror movies that were filmed, and then weird things happen on the set. Poltergeist.
Oh yeah.
The one with the chick with her head spins around.
Talladega Nights. Hey,
driver. The Exorcist.
Oh, please be 18. Sorry, I just watched
Yeah,
that movie again.
That is exactly what I was thinking.
yeah,
of
our
and
little
talking about.
test
yeah,
of
exactly,
would
exactly.
you sit down and watch it? I sat
Yeah,
down and watched
but-
Talladega Nights again.
Yeah, and
even though we just did a podcast about it.
Exactly. And funny that you mentioned the other night, by the way, that Goldmember was back on.
Oh yeah.
I watched that again. I sat down
Oh,
here
yeah,
and just
so
watched
good.
it again because I thought, well, I'll watch 5 minutes of it. Nah, I watched the
Yeah.
whole thing. It's just so funny. So many things.
Moving on with trivia.
Yeah.
This is Columbia Pictures' highest
Columbia
grossing film
Pictures, that's what it
of
was.
all time when adjusted for inflation.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Which
see,
is
I
pretty-
totally believe
pretty
that. Yeah.
The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man suits cost approximately $20,000 each.
Wow.
There 3 were made and all were destroyed while filming. So that's a scene we didn't even touch on, even though we
No,
have
it's
a
true. We
Stay
have
Puft
a-
Marshmallow Man
yeah,
statue
we do
in the
That's-
room with us.
Right, as you can see.
He has a microphone
As
too,
you can see. Right.
which is funny. He hasn't said anything yet. But
Oh, that's
maybe-
right. He does have a
maybe one- yeah.
microphone. That is so weird.
Yeah.
How does he have a mic? Why does he have a microphone?
Maybe he's been talking this whole time. We
Probably.
don't even know.
If we listen back to the EVP,
Yeah.
we'll hear voice. Remember, this is our Halloween.
Oh yeah, this is our Halloween
episodes. One of them. One
Yes,
of them.
but very cool, very practical effects for the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yeah.
It was a guy in a suit. They used a lot of miniatures.
Yeah.
He's walking on a miniature road, which is just always so cool.
Yeah.
And then when spoiler alert, an hour and almost 13 minutes into the pod, when they kill him, it's all shaving cream.
Yeah.
Which apparently, according to one of the trivia, Dan Aykroyd loved the shaving cream so much he kept asking him to put more on him, and I'm like,
wow.
Chill.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you doing there, Dan?
Okay,
you doing okay?
Okay, exactly.
That seems like a mental thing, but
that's
the special effect at the early part of the movie where the catalog drawers. Oh, this one's for you.
Okay,
I wrote this down for you.
All right.
So the special effect at the early part of the movie where the catalog drawers open and the cards are flying out was created by prop workers hidden behind a stage setting made to look like part of the library. The drawers were pushed open from the back, and the cards were blown out via copper piping.
Really?
Which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I assume they were pushed out from the back because it makes sense, but...
and according to the Netflix show, again, I want to go back to that, they had a straw, so I'm sure it was a copper. I would imagine that it was compressed air, though, through a copper pipe.
Poor intern.
No, with a straw. No.
After you get back from that coffee run, blow through this copper straw for 3 hours while this librarian walks away.
Right, exactly. But they said that some of those effects, because they didn't know exactly how they were going to do everything, some of them were actual practical effects where the books flying back and forth were actually on just wires. That's it.
Which
just plain
apparently,
wires.
when the movie released, they were so crunched for time. Yeah. Some of those wires were left in the original releases.
Oh, really?
So, the original film copies that they sent to theaters for opening night still had some wires in them.
Wow. Yeah.
And then they fixed them and then sent the new ones out to all those
I
theaters.
see. Yeah.
But also something we totally skipped over was the mind reading scene at the very beginning of the movie. So great.
So great.
Where he's holding up the cards and he's having them guess. And he guesses right. He's like,
he guesses right, yeah.
3
Squiggly
wavy lines. He's like, I'm sorry. And
just
then he
not your
shocks
day.
him. I was going to say 8 o'clock. You are something phenomenon.
You are a legitimate phenomenon.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love
say 8 o'clock. Yeah.
But what a great way to introduce the characters and really give a lot of that personality. You just knew immediately that guy was the goofball romancer guy, and he was always going to hit on all the women. He was always going to be this goofball, and then you really got a good sense of how the other characters were so much into their art and stuff like that, so much into their science.
Oh,
but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, which I think my one criticism for this movie, if I could have one, is that I wish they pushed that they were into science a little bit more. Yeah. I definitely think they breezed over, which is interesting because the original cut of the film the opening scene was the Ecto One pulling out of the garage.
Really?
The original, apparently in one of the drafts, the original opening scene was the
15,000 drafts that they did.
Thing.
Yeah.
After they cut out time travel and
right,
Martians
and space.
Yeah, and Coca-Cola.
Yeah, right.
But apparently the original opening scene was the Ecto One pulling out, and they were just like the Ghostbusters were just a thing. Like you said,
right.
The other idea that they had was that they were just like the policemen. They were just like the firemen. It was like, you have a police station, fire station, a Ghostbusters station, which was part of the reason they did a fire station was they originally had this idea of that this is just like, oh, you just call up your local neighborhood Ghostbusters when you had an issue.
Yes.
Just like you would call up the police or call up the fire department.
Mm-hmm.
I already said this, but I'll say it again. The Ecto which also kind of bothered me. IMDb kept calling it the Ectomobile. I'm like, it's the Ecto One.
It's
idiots.
Yeah.
The Ectomobile was originally going to be painted black until it was pointed out that most of the driving would be at night and the car would be difficult to see.
Yeah.
So I think it would have been cool, but I also think like the white was like more of a fun clown car look.
Yes.
Where the black was like a menacing Kit, like Knight Rider.
Yeah, the white was more in line with their personalities.
Yeah,
of the characters. It was kind of goofy. And
speaking of which, side tangent.
Okay.
We need to look into doing Knight Rider, the original David Hasselhoff series.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Because I recently found out that there's a couple episodes where Kit has an evil brother.
No.
You've never heard of this?
No.
His name's Carr. I'm not kidding. It's Kit and Car. Kit Car. So
we totally have to do that. We're gonna have to find the episodes, and then we'll review those episodes. Yeah,
and so apparently he like wants to get revenge.
Hello,
and
Michael.
It's literally a killer car.
Okay.
So the car like traps a girl inside and sets the heat to like 90. Like but it looks like Kit with like a silver.
I think I've had the same car.
Yeah. Well, jeez. The RX-7, I think, tried to do that multiple times. I once passed out because of an exhaust leak in the RX-7. Do you remember that?
Well, that was the time I was standing there looking at you, and I was working on something.
It was like
you?
3 p.m.
Yeah.
After
and you
school, and I was just clocked out in the driver's seat.
Off.
And you knocked on my window, and it scared me, and I hit the gas. Luckily, you woke me up.
Father of the year.
Yeah. Well, you did save me from poisoning.
All right, that's good. I guess I did one thing.
That's your one and only thing.
Yeah.
Though never referred to in the script, the green ghost the guys bust in the hotel was called Onion Head by the crew because of its horrid smell. A scene where the ghost haunts 2 newlyweds showed the characteristic, but was cut. Since it was never referred to in the movie, the writers of The Real Ghostbusters, which was the animated TV show, came up with a different name of Slimer.
Okay. All righty. Well, that's good. That's
which
cool.
someone Googled that there was like a slime soda in like the late, I think it was Slime Cooler.
Okay.
Ecto Coolers.
Ecto Coolers? Okay.
It was a soda. Anyway. This was interesting. Sound designer Richard Beggs made the Ectomobile siren sound from a leopard snarl that was edited, pitched, and otherwise processed in analog. He used an Ampex AG440 recorder, quarter-inch tape, variable speed operation, a razor blade, and an Edtol splicing block.
Wow.
So all you 80s sound junkies are probably jumping for joy at. I don't know what any of that means.
I don't know either, but I
but
actually
really
had
cool that it was kind of a practical effect. Sorry.
That Edtol splicer.
Yeah.
That was the same company that made this Super 8 splicer that I used when I was making Super 8 films. So,
interesting.
Very happy about that. But yeah, very interesting that they made it. I thought
it's a leopard snarl.
That's crazy because I actually thought that was because someone in our family sells Q sirens, that was some offshoot of a Q siren, that it was an actual real
it's
siren.
Actually a sound effect made for the movie.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
It is very interesting.
And I just loved the physical aspect of it, like literally a razor blade.
Right.
It
was
it wasn't like, nowadays you put a million compressors on it in GarageBand and then boom, there you go.
I was going to say, nowadays truly you can sample something, you can then mess it, warp it, do all these filters and things, you can create any sound you want. I was talking to somebody about that and the amazing leap in technology that we've had where you can now do just about anything you want on your home computer. So,
which is so funny to me.
Yeah.
Because I'll be editing, right?
Yeah.
And I'll have like a big long sequence to edit.
Yeah.
And I'll think to myself, I'm like, I wish I could actually just physically cut this stuff with a razor blade and
which
just
I did.
Put it together.
Yeah.
Like it would make it so easy, but now I have to like control, click, split, and then, do all this stuff. And it's like, I wish I could just physically have it there and just smash it together. Yeah.
That was the hardest thing for me to get used to, was not having something physical to cut or work with in your hands. It was very, very difficult to go electronic, but it's very funny that you say
sure.
That, so,
when the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man attacks, a stunned Ray recalls roasting Stay Puft marshmallows by the fire at Camp Wakanda. Wakanda is an old Native American name that translates to spirit water. Camp Wakanda is a real-life Boy Scout camp near Peoria, Illinois.
Really?
Recently acquired by the Peoria Park District. Another real-life Camp Wakanda exists near Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Dan Aykroyd grew up in Ottawa, which is nearby.
Yeah.
So, which he also spent a lot of time in Chicago. So we're not sure.
Yeah, we're not there though. We're
not there, but we're definitely not anywhere near Chicago.
We're totally not near Chicago.
Totally in New York.
Yeah, totally in New York.
No shout out to Stomp.
Very cool. Wow, you really hated that. Okay, good.
It's terrible. Although I got the people to sign my playbill.
Well, that's good.
Somewhere in my room.
Did you have to give them like $5 or something, or
no?
Okay,
no, they just put a trash can lid on it. in ink. The Ecto One was a 1959 Cadillac chassis millimeter ambulance/hearse rear-loading variety. 2 vehicles were used in the movie, one for the pre-transformation car and one for the post-transformation car.
Very cool.
So we already said that.
Yeah.
Only one car was used for the Ecto One. Medjuk, who is one of the crew members, jokes that no film would ever have only one car this old and beaten up to shoot with. The car used for Ecto One finally broke down during filming for Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah.
Which we already said. This one was really funny to me.
Okay.
Jay Leno read for the part of Louis Tully.
No. Jay Leno.
Say, guys.
It was good.
Woohoo. That's more Letterman. But yeah, I cannot imagine Jay Leno as Rick Moranis' part of Louis Tully.
No, I cannot imagine anyone but Rick Moranis doing that.
No,
that
so
one.
perfect.
Yeah, it just was great.
The film was originally meant to be set in Chicago. Bill Murray and Harold Ramis are both from the Chicago area. Dan Aykroyd starred in Blues Brothers, which was also set there.
Yeah, right.
So, as we go on here, we have 2 more trivia facts, but I just want to point out. So this trivia, there was probably 500 trivia facts in this section.
I bet, yeah.
And it got so out of hand.
Yeah?
Like the trivia. There was one, I should have wrote it down. There was one where it was like, there's a scene where the 3 Ghostbusters are seen with a no smoking sign.
Yeah.
In the background. And then it was like, in 2005, Ivan Reitman's son made a film fighting Big Tobacco.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, that's a stretch.
Wow, that is like a giant
I
stretch.
was like,
wow.
Okay. So, yeah.
Some of the scenes were at night.
Also at night.
Also at night was some sort of terrible thing that happened.
Boogie Nights. Yeah. With Mark Wahlberg, recently put on Netflix.
So, yeah, there you go. But
so 2 more. One of them I've already mentioned.
Yep.
The $4,800 that Ray Stantz paid for the Ghostbusters car comes out to $11,800 in 2019.
Yeah, that's a lot of
money.
money.
Now for adjusted for our used car market in 2020, that's like 2021.
Yeah.
That's like a $20,000 car.
I was gonna say it's like a
everything's shooting up in price.
Yeah, exactly.
Last but not least.
Yep.
Very interesting one.
Yeah.
Ron Jeremy.
Yeah.
Is an extra in the film. He's seen behind one of the barricades when Ray and Winston drive up in the Ecto One after the containment unit explodes.
Really? No.
Which
really?
Then it says
in
parentheses widescreen version.
Oh. Huh?
So Ron Jeremy, the adult film star, and / creepiest man alive.
So no shout out.
No, you know what? No, shout out to Ron. If Ron Jeremy wanted to be on the podcast, I'd have him on in a second.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually saw an interview with him, and he's talking about like the difference between stage acting and film acting and stuff.
Really?
And he's like talking about expressions and stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, he's an actor. I always forget that he's an actor, not just a creepy old man that I try to avoid online. But but I thought it was so funny that he's in the background, but only in the widescreen version.
Yeah, that is.
So the 4:3 letterbox version, I guess, cropped him out.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, okay. So he got cropped out of that.
Oh man! So he was saved by the widescreen.
Did he pay to be in this movie? Like
he's not Tyrese. Come on,
Tyrese.
So
sorry, Tyrese.
Shout out to Tyrese. So that's all the trivia. That's all the notes I have about this movie.
Okay. Well, we're pretty much at time, but yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna ask you. Would you turn the channel?
No.
I
don't know if I would sit down and watch it.
Yeah, I understand it. You've seen it like 4,000 times.
I was gonna say, it's solely because I can quote the movie.
Yeah, right.
If you've listened this far, you can get a little bit of inside baseball. I haven't watched this movie in probably a year at least.
Yeah. Okay.
I did not watch it in preparation. I watch every single movie in preparation of this podcast.
Yes.
I didn't even watch it.
Yeah.
And I recalled way more info than I.
Oh, absolutely.
I could do scene for scene this entire movie from memory.
I think I watch it at least once a year.
Oh, yeah.
At least once a year. definitely around Halloween time, which is where we are now.
Yeah, definitely in October. You gotta listen
definitely
to
October.
it. Or not
And,
listen, watch.
Yeah, and
Listen
of
to
course
us,
it's
watch
in
it.
our and of course it's in our library and blah blah
Yeah.
blah and all that. But yeah, definitely. So you would not turn the channel, but probably not sit down and watch it.
Yeah, no, I'd definitely keep it on.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I'll probably honestly throw it on here in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
While I'm
Sure.
working, and
Yeah.
I'm actually more interested to watch Ghostbusters 2. I think everyone kind of rats on Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah.
And we didn't really talk about it because,
No.
like, the card doesn't really change between. I mean,
Yeah, a
they
little-
make it
well,
the
it
1A.
kinda
They
does, yeah.
add stuff to the
1A.
top, but that's
exactly.
it.
Well, and that's exactly. Yeah. And so I kind of have a love-hate relationship with the second one. It's awesome that they got everyone to do it again. I think a lot of the same feelings are there. There's a lot of cool stuff in it. But there's also some things that I wasn't so happy with the second one, but I'm not going to get into that because we are way too far into this.
What makes you mad about Ghostbusters 2?
Not mad, but
No, you're
it's
angry. You're fuming.
This is my angry face.
Yeah, the people don't see it, but you're actually holding a teddy bear's throat right
yeah,
now.
I'm
and just squeezing
ringing,
vigorously.
Yes, exactly. Just a terrible thing. No, I can't not laugh as I look at the statue. We actually do have a little mini statue.
He's probably
of
a foot and a half tall.
Stay Puft Marshmallow
of the
Man.
He's actually a piggy bank.
Yes, exactly.
He's actually a piggy bank.
Here
for you. Oh
wait,
I can't reach him.
you
Never mind.
can't-
I was gonna shake him, but I'm
In
laying
our-
on this
in our
$151 million couch.
Wow,
and I don't wanna
we
get off
spent
it.
all of the money
on
on
a
sofa.
couch.
No, I think some of the things that kind of made me, the whole thing about getting into the Statue of Liberty and going downtown, walking down the street. The Ghostbusters get inside the Statue of Liberty and they make it go down the street.
Yeah, and there's
that
the whole
brings up
B
the
story
goodwill.
about
Yeah.
the goodness left
Right,
in New York.
Right, exactly.
It's a
and so
very
it-
interesting story. I think it's still fun though.
Oh, it's definitely still fun.
I think seeing the Statue of Liberty walk when I was a kid was like, whoa.
Oh
That's
yeah,
super
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
The Titanic showing up
Yeah, that
late.
is another
The
one,
ghost
yeah.
of the Titanic was
Right.
cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, that's. I mean,
man, the painting guy is real weird.
yeah,
It's
very.
It's a painting.
Oh, the guy.
Yeah, what? He's like worshiping the
Oh,
painting.
Yeah, exactly. I mean that character.
And then he tries to hook up with Sigourney Weaver, and she's
Yes. Yeah. Which is great because they ask him, they're like, "Where are you from originally?" He's like, "Upper West Side." It was not even like a different country.
Yeah,
It's just like Upper
yeah.
West Side. So I mean, there's some really great stuff in the second one. But I if I had the chance, or if they said, "Okay, you're going to be on a desert island, you could only have Ghostbusters 1 or 2," I would choose Ghostbusters.
Well, yeah,
1. So,
clearly,
I mean, that's,
but
and
maybe the middle place.
the middle
The medium
right, the middle place instead of
would
the
just
good
have
place, the bad place.
Ghostbusters 2. 'Cause
Right.
It's not a bad movie.
It's not a
but
bad movie at all.
It's not an amazing one.
So don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's not a bad movie. It's just
Virgo.
Vigo, I think.
They're
wasn't it?
Vigo, yeah,
Vigo?
the destroyer of worlds.
Virgo is a sign
That's
of
a
the zodiac.
sign that
Zodiac sign.
if any girl ever brings up, I avoid her.
Yeah. Well,
if you're into
ast-
no shout out to the
astronomy?
astrology girls.
astronomy.
No, astronomy girls are great.
Right.
The
astrology.
astrology girls.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No
So.
gracias.
So, and for me, like this movie, so for Ghostbusters 1,
Yeah.
would I change the channel? No. Would I watch it? Maybe. I
Yeah.
actually most likely would sit down and watch it.
Yeah, it definitely depends on how recently I've watched
Well,
it.
true.
Because
And if I've got anything else going on, because I've seen the movie so many times that
Yeah.
I could. Yeah, I didn't watch it this time, but highly recommend anyone who hasn't seen it in a while to actually watch it again. It's just a fun movie. It's really not that scary, but there are some scary parts in it. And I remember, I had to be very careful when I showed the film on our screen and not like on our garage door.
Yeah.
I had to be very careful about the scenes where it's really scary because some kids around.
There's
and stuff. The librarian.
the
when she
librarian
changes,
ghost
yeah.
is really
Librarian
the only one
ghost is
where she
is scary.
stands up and
Yeah.
her like flesh rots away or whatever.
Yeah,
she's
and
like,
it's very weird.
But then
It's
it
very
but then you hear the
Yeah.
yeah
yeah, right, yeah. So and then they run out of the screaming like little girls or something,
Yeah.
and that's such a great fun.
Shout out Ray Parker Jr.
Yeah,
Can
definitely.
totally see, right? Or is he? No,
What?
he's not the blind one.
No, he's not blind. Jesus.
No,
you're talking about Ray Charles.
Oh.
Ray Charles is not Ray Parker Jr.
Okay.
They are very different people.
Okay, well, I mix them up.
I know.
But I did read a fact that
Yeah.
Ray Parker Jr., the Ghostbuster, people screaming Ghostbusters in the
Yeah.
background,
Yeah.
was just his girlfriend's friends that were just like hanging out.
Really?
Like, hey, you want to
Yeah.
scream on this
All right.
into this microphone, Ghostbusters?
Yeah, why not?
He got the idea from I think his like son or nephew, like a little kid was like Ghostbusters.
Oh,
He's like, write that down,
okay,
kid.
Yeah.
You're going places.
Well, and he actually, when he was writing the song, was watching some of the clips or whatever, because the song came
Yeah.
way later in the movie. When they were making the movie, there was like a couple weeks left
Yeah.
before they were actually going to launch this movie, and they called him up and said, "Hey, we need you to put something
Which,
together."
didn't he totally steal the.
Well,
music?
that's
There's
a whole. I mean, we
there's
could do a podcast
yeah.
probably on that. But yeah, the whole thing of Huey Lewis's "I Want a New Drug,"
Yeah.
same kind of riff. Got in a lot of trouble about that. I'm not sure.
Huey
exactly what ended
Lewis's
up.
lead guitarist and singer is Marty McFly. If you remember correctly, if the timeline lines up correctly,
Yes, that's
Marty
right.
McFly
Somehow
actually
that's
wrote Johnny Be
actually-
Good, which is
So-
not cultural appropriation at all.
No, and Marty McFly then also probably sued Ray Parker Jr. for something.
Doc,
Because
this
Doc,
is heavy.
what are you saying, Doc? Marty,
But the other thing
Marty,
we could do
we
a
have
whole
to yell at each other.
the other
Yeah.
thing we could do a whole podcast on is the music video for the song Ghostbusters.
Yeah, true.
Because it has its own separate music video
Yeah.
starring Chevy Chase.
Does it really?
Yeah. Chevy Chase is not in Ghostbusters,
How
but he's.
did
So Chevy Chase passed on the film Ghostbusters,
Did he?
but then
was
he didn't pass on the music video.
Oh, okay.
Well, Chevy Chase is quoted as saying, I'm an old man and I'm angry. But he's also quoted as saying he read a very early adaptation of the script,
Yeah.
which was
Yeah.
intergalactic
Right.
Ghostbusters who
Right.
traveled through time and space.
If I read that first one, I probably would have gone, I don't know, this is
It'd
really
be fun
out
if we
there.
could find the original
Yeah.
script.
Yeah, it would
Just be like,
fun.
what the heck is this?
Dan Aykroyd, if you when
invite.
you listen, open invite first of all, because
Yeah.
I find you totally fascinating. But second of all, can you bring an original script? I really want to.
Yeah, just shoot me a text. I'm saved in your phone as ZP. You know that. Z Dog.
Z Dog.
Z double P.
And I'm Sidetrack G. I'm SDG.
Yeah.
Sidetrack G. Yeah, that's
that's
my,
your AOL Instant
that's it.
Messenger name.
That's my
Shout out to you. Got mail.
CompuServe. That's my CompuServe
got mail.
handle. You've got mail. Yeah.
But yeah,
Wow.
I would not change the channel.
Yeah, I
For
wouldn't
sure.
change the channel either. Really enjoyed the movie, and it's definitely one of my all-time favorites. Absolutely, hands down. Everything about it just really, really cool. And yeah, I probably actually would sit down and watch it. So next movie though, I think. We have the next movies figured out, but which one do you want to do next? Let's just put it that way. You tell me which one, because we have some scary car movies coming up.
Yeah.
Some of them are actually scary car movies.
Yeah.
I mean,
let's get our bad one out of the way.
Oh, Christine?
No.
No.
Christine's gonna be the last one.
So a
Christine's
good bad.
gonna be the final one.
Like a bad one.
Bad
Oh,
one,
the bad
which is the
one.
Blood Drive movie.
Oh, you want to do that one next?
Um,
Which one is that on Amazon Prime?
that is on Amazon
Shout out to
Prime.
Amazon Prime.
I don't even have it written down. That's
Shout
how
out-
prepared I am.
By the way, shout out to all streaming services everywhere.
yeah,
So,
please
yeah.
sponsor
Yeah,
us.
please sponsor.
Let me see. Blood Drive, Amazon. Yeah, I believe it's called Blood Drive. No,
Okay.
maybe it's not. I don't
Nope.
know. You know what? The next movie's going to come out, and you're going to deal with it.
All right. Well,
So
it is, but it's the one. It's the one about futuristic cars and blood.
yeah,
and
it's
stuff
basically
like
it's set in the future. There's
All
no
right.
more fuel left. So what do the cars run on? Human blood.
that. Of course they
It's an
do.
Amazon Prime
Why?
movie.
Why would they
Um,
not run? That's so typical and normal and everything. Why would they not run on human blood?
Let me see. I feel like
Because human
has to
blood, by the way, is so combustible. I mean, you could run anything, like you could power plant
Is
on
this
human
it?
blood. No, I don't think that's physically. That's not a scientific fact. Yeah,
I'm seeing something here.
much like a monorail.
A
is
blood
not named.
car.
Okay, blood car.
Blood car. In the near future, gas
Blood
prices
car.
have reached
Blood car.
astronomical highs, nearing
Yep.
$40 a gallon.
Wow,
An environmentalist elementary school teacher
that's
is
like
trying to discover an
like
alternate
now.
fuel source. While
Yeah.
experimenting with wheatgrass, he accidentally stumbles upon a solution human blood.
Okay, because human blood is very combustible.
That makes no sense, but it's
No,
a
it is.
2012 Amazon Prime movie. It's going to be terrible.
Hey,
but we're going to watch it.
there's oxygen in human blood, and of course, oxygen is something needed for combustion. And there's
Yeah, but it's not a part of the fuel.
Whatever.
You get your air. You get the air from the air intake.
Yeah, of course you do.
This is already
yeah.
up to be a stupid movie.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna actually have to take some of my own blood and see if I can light it on fire.
Oh jeez. Oh God! Don't. Put
Which
that
I
much
already
research in it.
did.
I was looking
because
at your knee. You gashed your knee up
my
pretty bad.
shin. My shin gets cut. It's like one of those ongoing jokes in my life that my shin always gets banged up. It's always there's some blood or
You're
some
getting
scar.
real close to that age of
I am.
Band-Aid on the forehead.
Yeah, I'm always gonna have.
Once
a
you have a
Band-Aid
Band-Aid on the forehead, it's
Yeah.
over for you.
It
I'm
is.
signing the papers. You're going to a home.
You keep saying.
Will you
that.
ever see an old man in
Yeah.
public with a Band-Aid
Yeah.
directly in the middle of their
Yeah.
forehead?
I've
And it's
actually
like,
I
oh,
have
man.
seen that. Yeah, I've seen that.
Oh man,
I have not.
It's downhill from that
Yeah,
point on.
I've not been that person, but I've
Not
seen it.
yet.
But no, so I tend to bash up and usually it's my right shin, not my left shin. So I just wanted you to know that. And shout out to Paul Shin. I'm just see how I went through that whole thing. Paul.
Wow, what a
yeah.
evolution.
It was.
Shout out to
So-
Paul Shin.
yeah,
Shout out to
totally
Nick.
cool guy. Yeah.
Shout out
Absolutely,
to
yeah.
Craig Lieberman.
Yep.
Shout
Yeah.
out. No shout out to Stomp. Shout out to Dan
Wow,
Aykroyd.
yeah.
Open invite on the podcast.
Yep,
Bring some
absolutely,
Crystal
yeah.
Head vodka, and
Yeah.
maybe it'll get me believing in those aliens too.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
so-
Sounds good.
Thank
Sounds
you
like a
guys
good
so
idea.
much for
Yep,
listening.
Thank you.
If you are listening on YouTube, please go check us out on Spotify. If you're listening on Spotify, please go check us out on YouTube. I hope you guys enjoyed the intro songs.
Yes.
Our first time trying the intro songs.
Yes, I hope
we have the
I love them.
regular intro songs, and then we have our spooky intro song for this month of October.
Mm-hmm.
We are doing 5. That's right.
Yeah.
Count it on your fingers. 5 scary movies in this month of October
Yeah.
2021.
And
so
Zach,
there's
you
5
did a
Saturdays.
great job. I just want to add before we end that you did a great job with doing those intro songs.
Thank you.
So it's very,
super
very
excited
cool.
about it.
Very
So,
excited. So,
Thank you guys so much for listening,
Yep.
and we'll see you the next episode.
All right, bye-bye.